All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Extra Innings Podcast. I am your host, Elijah Rodriguez, and here we are, guys. It's Friday. Made it through the week. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm sorry, my phone's been blowing up. I got a lot of friends that are living in Houston. If you don't know what happened in Houston yesterday, I don't quite know if it was a tornado. I've been trying to go with my buddies or everyone that I know is okay, so that's good. That's the main thing. I got some guys that live towards Mount Bellevue, towards this almost like the eastern side of Houston, going towards Louisiana. Got friends, my girlfriend's friends that live near downtown, so that was pretty scary. But everyone seems to be okay. There was, I don't know if it was a tornado. They haven't been. No one can confirm if there was, but they got hit with some nasty storm. I mean, they said I was just going through Twitter trying to find if there was video footage. It's it looks like nighttime at 5 o'clock. It's insane. 111-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, it was nuts, but if you're in the Houston area, hopefully you're all right. Anyway, we're going to talk about some baseball now. That was kind of crazy. I'm sorry. I'm like, holy shit, that was wild. But we're going to talk about some baseball now. So I wanted to talk, if you listened to my episode yesterday, I said I wanted to talk about power rankings. I just don't see a big jump right now. I mean, week to week, I might just make a post. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a post, put it out there weekly, because that just seems to be the easiest way to do it rather than sitting here talking about it. Because it's sometimes the differences are so minuscule. I think the biggest jump, so the Dodgers kind of dropped a bit. Orioles went up to the one spot because they have not been swept, which is a topic of conversation today. So rather than talking about power rankings, we're going to just talk about some pretty big pieces that are happening in baseball, in my opinion. So we're going to talk about that instead. So if you want to know my power rankings, check out socials a little bit later. I should have something up. But our first topic of discussion, we have to talk about this. It's the Orioles. I feel like I talk about them a lot, and I don't mean to. They're just a legendary team this year. I mean, to be honest, they're doing some stuff we haven't seen, right? So the big piece, right? Obviously, for a team who lost 110 games in 2021, then come into it. I think it was. Hold on, was it in games? They may have lost. Actually, I think they. Hold on. Let me find this. Let me find this. 110 games. Yeah, so in 2021, no, it was 2022, they lost 110 games. The Orioles in 2021 got swept 19 times. They lost 110 games in 2022. Then in 2023, last year, they were a completely different team. Obviously, not to the standard they are now. Obviously, they've made some improvements since last year. But even last year, watching them play, they weren't going to be, crazy playoff bound or anything. But you could see the wheels turning almost. You could see, I remember I saw them play in New York towards the end of the year. I think it was either July or August. And I saw them play. Obviously they put an ass whipping on the Yankees, but they were already down and out. By July, the Yankees were down and out last year. Let's just call it. They were looking for 2024. Let's just be honest, right? So them coming in, Gunnar Henderson put on a 2-home run display that game. He's a freaking monster. I knew then, I was like, hey, there's something cooking in Baltimore. And then sure enough, here we are this year, and they have yet to be swept this year, and they have 105 series now where they have not been swept, if I get that correct. So the streak's alive. In fact, I think it was on Wednesday, they almost lost that streak. They almost got swept, but they didn't because Rutschman came in clutch against the Blue Jays, which is insane. So they almost got swept, and then Rutschman saved them. So a big team, obviously. Obviously, they've been in the news for multiple reasons. Obviously, they're a young team, a very young team. They got Cowser. I've said this a million times. They got Cowser. They've got Henderson. They've got Rutschman. They've got a lot of guys that are young but play like veterans. It's insane. Obviously, they were in the news a lot because of Jackson Holiday, that whole thing, how that didn't – well, and I still feel like we're early, right? It's I don't want to say he didn't pan out because that's kind of facetious because he only had, 83 at-bats in the major leagues. And sometimes, people forget at times that, okay, you go up, and this is the biggest thing. I was listening to them talk about this yesterday. At this point in time, it is the biggest jump to go from AAA to the majors. It's the biggest talent jump, and we can't really figure out why or what's changed. Obviously, the pitching is the best it's ever been. Hitters are the best it's ever been, but the pitching itself, guys, is the hardest. I've talked about this before. Obviously, there's the thing with the Tommy John epidemic and all this stuff, and this velo train that we're all riding. It's pitching is the hardest and the best it's ever been. So for hitters, it is the hardest for them to succeed at this point. So if you're succeeding in the major leagues, you're doing something right. So point I'm trying to make is they've been in the news a lot. Jackson Holiday was in the news a lot. They were expecting his debut this year. We got it. It was very underwhelming. It seemed like he wasn't ready. But I also think he was maybe just hit a slump at the worst possible time because he just could not hit water if he fell out of a boat. So they sent him back down. I think he'll be back up. I don't think he'll be back up this year, guys, to be honest. I don't think and maybe towards the end of the year if the Orioles can make a serious run. I see them going at least to the championship series. World Series is still, there's some strong teams out there that I think can still best them, honestly. So we'll see, but not getting swept in 105 straight series, they're on pace to set some records if they can keep this going. So we will see. We will see. We will see. We will see. Anyway, so we got that going. So the O's were the big piece. That was a big topic of conversation. Obviously, they have a crazy record right now. 105 straight series. The Orioles have gone without being swept. That's 19 short. I have some stats here on some notes here. That's 19 short of the record of 121 series not being swept by the 1942 to the 1944 Cardinals. So they're on pace to do something pretty fucking wild, man. If I'm being honest. I got my notes here. Okay, next topic of conversation, because I was watching this game yesterday. It was the feature of the night with MLB Network. Obviously, guys, if you don't know, I'm a big boycott guy. I'm not gonna go pay for 50 fucking streaming services. So I watch the games that are available to me, and then at night I watch quick pitch. I watch all highlights. I surf socials. I find stuff. This is how I get my notes. So if you were interested in where I get my topics, every morning I'm up at 5:30. I search the internet. I look. What's a good topic? What's a good topic? What's going on? What's going on? I watch highlights. I'm not the guy who's gonna go out and pay X amount of money to watch every major league game because that's just ridiculous. And I do the same. I'm a big fantasy football guy, and I'm another guy who I'm not paying. Like this whole thing with Peacock, and now Netflix has a deal with the NFL and all that shit. Like I'm a huge sports fan, guys, but there's a line that I draw where I'm like, I'm not paying you all my money to watch all these fucking games. It's insane. And baseball's kind of the same with these blackouts. There's nothing that irritates me more in the world than seeing, I'm like, oh, I want to watch the Yankees or somebody, and there's a fucking blackout. I can't stand it. It irritates me to my core because they want you to pay money to watch the fucking game. I'm not going to do it. So fair disclosure there. I'm a boycott guy when it comes to shit like that. So if I miss something, if I seem like I'm all over the place, it's because I didn't watch the game specifically. I watched the pieces, I watched the highlights, I read up on it, but you ain't taking my money. Not a chance. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Bryce Harper. So last night the Mets played the Phillies. I don't know if I think they were in Philly or New York. I think they were in Philly. And I was sitting there in we're sitting watching the game, and I'm looking at Bryce Harper, and then I saw that there's a lot of stuff, people were writing about Bryce Harper this year because Bryce Harper, and if I try to keep this, like I said, I've been a huge fan since Bryce Harper because I found out about Bryce Harper when he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he hit that like ridiculous home run when he was like 16, and that was like, and they were like, he's LeBron, he's this, he's that, he was all over ESPN, he's everywhere, right? It was like he is the baseball guy, right? He was like, this is going to be insane. He's the next LeBron of baseball. And everyone was trashing him. It was like, oh, he's this, he's that, he's overrated, he's an asshole, blah, 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 right? Everyone had something to say about Bryce Harper. And this man has carried the news. He has carried the media and done everything the right way his entire career from when he was 16 to now, right? And I remember, like, it was crazy, like, watching him because he went the JUCO route, right? He went the JUCO route. He went to go play at a Las Vegas or a Nevada junior college. Woodbat Junior College League, tore it up, gets drafted, goes to the Nationals. I think he was a year in the minors and then made his debut. And of course, everyone's got naysayers, right? Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, he's going to be overrated. He's overrated. I think he didn't get a hit in his first like 2 games. He didn't get a hit. It was slumping. And then just, obviously we all know Bryce Harper now. He just took the league by storm, right? So the question is, and before we even get there, I remember when he was in Washington, and I thought at the time, okay, so back then, like, was 2014, 2015, right? Yeah, something like that. 2014, 2015. The Nationals weren't worth a shit. They were bad, right? And obviously, with how high Harper went in the draft, obviously the lower teams are going to get the higher picks. That's why I love baseball so much. Everyone can have their time, right? It's a little different every time, right? And I thought, man, what a waste. He's never going to get a ring. What's going on? And then sure as shit, 2019 rolls around. They trade Harper. Harper goes to Philly, signs a massive contract. I was actually, no bullshit, I was mad that happened. I was upset. I was like, dude, because I'm a big guy who's like, I'm not a guy who would sign. And obviously, it's facetious me talking here, saying this now, because I'm not in the position where I'm getting offered millions of dollars to play baseball for a team, right? So I take this with a grain of salt, and I understand that. I have enough self-awareness to know that. But at the same time, like, I'm the guy who's like, okay, so I signed this massive contract with this team, who the Phillies at the time also had not been good since Ryan Howard days when they were in the World Series all the time. You know, Cole Hamels, Roy Halladay, um, Ibanez, you got Shane Victorino, Ryan Howard, when Roy Halladay threw a no-hitter in the playoffs, all that was a legendary Phillies team, like, run for a couple years, right? And then they fell off. And then obviously everyone has their rise back up again. That's how baseball works. That's why I love it. And then they got Nola, they got Wheeler, they got Walker, they got Real Muto, they got Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Baum, Stott. They have us. They brought it all back, right? They brought it all back. But when he signed in 19, all those pieces weren't there. Turner was with the Dodgers. Realmuto wasn't there. I think probably Schwarber was either with the Cubs. Aaron Nola, I don't even think was there yet. He may have been one that was there, but I don't think he was there yet. Wheeler definitely wasn't there yet. I mean, there's a lot of pieces that weren't assembled yet. Honestly, they weren't assembled yet. And I remember when he signed that contract, I was like, man, he sold out. He sold out. He's going to go get all this big money, and he still won't win again. And it was more funny because that year they traded Harper, the Nationals went on and won the World Series right before COVID. And that's when they had, Zimmerman. They had, I remember the team. That was Howie Kendrick, Patrick Corbin. They had a lot of pieces. They had a lot of really good pieces, man. And that was a good team. And without Harper, it kind of sucked. Oh, Soto was there too. That was the time Soto was there. So the Nationals picked it up right after Harper left, won the World Series, and obviously have not been the same since. Sold the team. It happens, right? So Zimmerman retires. A lot of stuff happened. Strasburg, bro. Strasburg. That was the last time. That was the last year that we got to see Strasburg pitch, and it was, World Series MVP. Dude went off, right? So Nationals, I was like, okay, well, that sucks for him. The Nationals go on to win a fucking World Series, and Harper leaves to Philly. Go figure, right? And I thought he sold out. Look at this guy, sold for millions, sold him his soul basically for the money, and goes to Philly, and they suck. And I was like, what the fuck, right? And then all of a sudden, piece by piece, year by year, here come the Phillies, man. All of a sudden, 2021, they were good. 2022, 23, I'm sorry, 21, 22, and 23, the Phillies were a force to be reckoned with, obviously, right? And last year fell flat in that championship series against the Diamondbacks, but it happens, right? You're not going to be perfect. But now the question is, like, Harper, who wins a home run derby, multiple All-Star, MVP, all these accolades, but is he going to be the Dan Marino of the MLB? I don't know, because it's the question now. Will he ever get that ring? Because they've made it to the World Series now twice. They've made it to the championship series now numerous times, but just can't really get over that hump, right? And that's the thing. That's the piece. It's like, you can be the greatest athlete of all time. You can be the greatest ball player, what have you, right? MVP, All-Star, whatever. He has every accolade, but the one that every player wants. So the question is, in 2024 now, Phillies look strong. Phillies have a great, they've been strong. That's not a question. They've been strong for a long time now. So them not getting a World Series is shocking. It's almost as shocking as the Dodgers getting one in 2020, which I don't count. It's almost as shocking as a team that strong not having it. It's just like, what the hell, right? What's going on? Why can't they just finish? It's the same. I had the same argument with Trout. All these MVPs, all these All-Stars, never makes it to the playoffs. I don't think he'll ever make it to the playoffs in Los Angeles with the Angels. He'll never sniff a World Series. He'll never sniff a championship series because they just don't have it over there. But they have Mike Trout. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. We could talk about Mike Trout as well, because I think him and Harper are kind of in the same boat, except Harper has much more probability to make that happen because of the team that they've got with him. But point is like, will he make it this year? And watching them last night, they did look a little bit flat. Tajon Walker didn't have his stuff. Then he got drilled with a liner. And it just wasn't a good night for the Phillies to watch, but it kind of sparked the question in me. I'm like, started looking, I'm watching, I'm looking, I'm like, wow, he's got when will Harper get his World Series is the biggest question I have to ask. And that is why we're talking about him today. He rises to every moment. He is that guy. They constructed this team for him. Like literally, he was the piece, and then they built it around Bryce Harper. Was an outfielder, has Tommy John, goes to first base. They trade away Reese Hoskins. They gave the job to Harper over Reese Hoskins, who was already there. So they did this all for him. It feels right. They did everything for Bryce Harper. When will he get the ring? Will it be in 2024? Because I think the time's dwindling, right? Because some of these contracts are going to come to head in 2025, 2026, 2027. So it's like this massive conglomerate of players that they have now is not going to last forever. Obviously, we know that. So the time's ticking, Bryce. Like, when's that World Series going to happen? There's another, like last year, I thought it would be them again. Last year, I thought they were going to go to the World Series. Like the Diamondbacks versus the Phillies last year in the championship series. I thought, on paper, obviously the Diamondbacks shocked a lot of people, but on paper, the Phillies should have just wiped the fucking floor with them, and they didn't. So hopefully this year, obviously they're still strong. One of the first teams to make it to 30 wins. Will they make it? They got guys pitching out their ass. They got Ranger Suarez, who's up there on the leaderboards with ERA and innings pitched. You got freaking Nola, who's tearing it up. You got Wheeler, who's tearing it up. Walker's been a little shaky when he came off the IL, but I think he's going to be okay. And then hopefully he doesn't go on the IL for a long time after yesterday. I haven't heard any updates on it, but we will see. But hopefully Harper can get it, man, because like I said, I'm a huge fan of Bryce Harper. I've been a huge fan of Bryce Harper since he was 16 years old on the cover of Sports Illustrated, motivating me to want to play better baseball and be somebody at that level. So Bryce Harper's done a lot for me in my career and who I am and just watching him play. So to see him get that World Series would be really fun to watch. I'm just hoping it's sooner than later, because the later he waits, obviously it's not on his call, but the later that this keeps getting pushed, the further and further probability goes. So I'm hoping Bryce Harper can get it together and get it rolling, because if there's anyone deserving of a World Series, it's Bryce Harper. Okay. Another game that I was watching last night, it was funny. So we watched that one. Then I was trying to stream yesterday. My PC was having a fucking meltdown. I'm glad it's working this morning, because I was a little worried going into this podcast this morning, because it was having some issues yesterday. And I was watching the Dodgers and the Reds. Now, I know Elly De La Cruz has been a huge talking point for a couple years now. Obviously, the Reds themselves are not a great talking point, because they just cannot figure it the fuck out. I don't know what's going on over there. Obviously they're 2-12 in extra inning games and 9-23 in 1-run games. Meaning when they're within a 1-run game, they cannot win. They're 9-23. Absolutely brutal. And I was reading an article on MLB Network that they're comparing them to the 2023 Padres, who were another disappointment. Tatis, Soto, Hader, all these guys, Machado, all these guys, and they were another team that just could not fucking put it together. The biggest thing was when they traded for Soto and then they got Hader. They made those two big trades before the deadline when they took Soto from the Nationals, Hader from the Brewers. They made those deals. Everyone thought, okay, the Padres are going to really do this year, and they just collapsed. I mean, they were 82-80. With a team with that much star power and talent. I was reading the article, and it said, and it was so funny because it's so fucking accurate. When the baseball gods, if you don't believe in the baseball gods, ladies and gentlemen, anything superstitious, baseball gods, jinxes, anything, they are so fucking real in baseball. And if you don't believe it, history has every telling point. It's there. I promise it's there. The baseball gods did not want the Padres to be good. They spent so much money. It's almost like the baseball gods hate the Mets too, because they spend so much money. The Padres spent all this money to go 82-80, slightly above 500, with some of the biggest stars in baseball. That's just it's ridiculous. But anyway, back to the Reds. So Elly De La Cruz, I feel like, and this was insane. I was, Glasnow was pitching, which Glasnow didn't look so great yesterday. I'm almost thinking that when Greg Amsinger says something, the baseball gods, whoever, go the complete opposite direction. So we were watching MLB tonight, and Dodgers were, it's funny because they're like, oh, you get extra baseball tonight. we're going to watch an extra baseball game tonight, so we're going to tune into this game. I'm like, yeah, we're tuning into this game because it's the only game still fucking playing, bro. It's 10:30 at night, and it's only the 4th. Yeah, of course we're going to get extra ball games. It's the only game on. So we're watching it, and Shohei, the Dodgers just looked uncharacteristically flat yesterday. I don't know what the problem was. I don't know what was going on. They just did not look like the Dodgers that we're accustomed to seeing, which is why they're my next topic, mind you. But talking about the Dodgers, Glass now, his fastball looked great. He was 96 to 98. You look, fastball velo was there. His curveball he just couldn't seem to get a feel on it. It was very high in the zone. People were still hitting it. They were hitting it hard, which was more concerning. They were hitting that ball hard. It wasn't even like they weren't, doing that much. They were hitting it hard. They were hitting it very hard. And it just didn't have that. It had bite. He was spiking them. It was high, spiking them. He couldn't hit with it. So he didn't have the greatest outing. The Dodgers still won, or they actually lost 7-2. The Reds actually took one from the Dodgers last night. So we'll see if they can do that again tonight. But the big thing was, like, every time I felt like Elly De La Cruz. So I turned on the game perfect time. He's at the plate and hits a ground rule double off of Glass now off a curveball. He just timed it perfectly. Sent it Oppo, hops over that short field and left field, and he's on second. The dude just took third. Like, he could have walked there. They don't even catchers. Teams are not even trying to throw him out. That's how insane he is. Fucking fast. I don't care. He is fast as shit. I hadn't really been paying attention to him because obviously the Reds have not been exciting to watch. Clearly, right? So it's like, okay, that's one superstar the Reds have. Whatever. I'm not really into that whole thing. Because it's cool to watch a superstar play, but when it's like Mike Trout, they really get overshadowed by a lot of the dark shit that happens when they lose over and over and over, and they have terrible starts. They started, whatever, right? So the Reds in 2024 have been, right? So it kind of overshadows. But I've heard a lot of people talking about Elly De La Cruz, over and over and over and over and over again. So I was like, okay, this is my chance. I'm going to watch it. He's in the game. Let's see what's happening. Let's see what's going on. Let's watch Mr. Elly De La Cruz. Is he that guy? Let's see. Of course, first thing, hits a double off of Glass. Now I'm like, okay, all right, okay. That's pretty damn good. It was a fucking phenomenal piece of hitting. So he goes to second. Next pitch, third base. In the blink of a fucking eye, I was like, what the hell? Dude it felt like he took like 6 strides and he was there. So the hype about Elly De La Cruz is so real because check this out, right? So he does that. Obviously, he ends up scoring because it was 3-0. By the time I fell asleep, it was like 10:45. I was exhausted. I was like, yeah, nah, I'm done with this game. I've seen all I need to see. The Dodgers are flat as shit. Glasnow doesn't have his breaking pitches today. That's enough. But so I watched a little bit more. He comes up again. He draws a walk from Glasnow. He's at, he takes, I think he took 2 pitches and then stole second. And Barnes was catching, obviously, Will Smith off day. Barnes gets the ball, which watching how wild Glasnow was before I even get back to Elly De La Cruz, Barnes is a hell of a catcher. He was making some hell of blocks. He was making some great plays. He was doing a hell of a job back there. So, hey, Will Smith is the guy, obviously. He's their dude. But Barnes is no slouch himself, man. Barnes is pretty damn good. So Barnes gets the ball. He throws it down. I mean, he couldn't have. I thought, oh my God, Barnes might have got him. Did Barnes get him? Before it all happened, as he's coming down to throw it, I was like, oh my God, did Barnes get him? Did he just throw it? No, he didn't. Not even close. And it was like he stole the bag with ease. With ease. The dude is fast. The dude is so fast. They're thinking he's going to do a 4,100 season. It's unprecedented. Never been done. If it has, I don't even know. Haven't heard of this, right? So I don't know, guys. He is another guy that I think will probably eventually make his way into a winning team. The Reds, I just don't see them having it for a little bit. Like, there's just not a lot happening over there. So Elly De La Cruz, though, if you had any doubts, any questions, I finally watched it. I finally watched him play. Holy shit. The dude can fucking ball, bro. So Elly De La Cruz, hopefully the Reds can turn it around at least a little bit. Because the biggest stat that I'm reading here that stands out to me, that bothers me the most, is that in 1-run games, they're 9-23. That means they couldn't plate just 1 run. 1. You couldn't plate 1 to tie it, to just give you a little bit extra. You're 9-23, dude. That's a rough stat line, guys. So Reds, pick it up. Okay, and then a funny one funny, kind of I wouldn't really say funny, because I'm not a Detroit fan. I'm not a Tigers fan. I don't really watch them that much, except for when Javi Baez does some stupid shit or something like that. I know they've got some pretty big guys. They got Alex Lang. They got some pieces. They got some good talent. You know, they're not horrible. They're not the worst. They're not great. You know, it's the Tigers. You know, now that I'm thinking about, hold on a second. What are the Tigers? Hold on. Now you got me curious. Hold on, guys. Why can't this? I've had this argument so many times. Why can't they just tell me the goddamn records? I just want to see the standings. Why is that so hard to find? Okay. I found it. 21-22. 21-22. Oof. They're 5.5 games back from the Guardians in the AL Central. I'm trying to look at these real quick. Just analyze as fast as I can here. They're 2.5 behind the Twins. Royals are 1.5 back from the Guardians. Okay. Again, what you would expect from the Tigers, I guess. At least you're better than the White Sox, 14-30. Oh, geez. Blue Jays 19-23. Angels 16-20. You know, I see so many people shitting on the fucking White Sox and saying they're the worst team in baseball, which they are. I mean, by winning standards, they are the worst team in baseball, right? No, they're not. The White Sox are not the worst team in baseball right now. I know they were getting a lot of slack earlier this year, but goddamn, there's got to be like a three-way tie. Obviously, the Marlins, by winning standards, are the worst team in baseball. They're 13-32. We're not going to talk about Miami because I think Peter, whatever his name is a dipshit. Rockies are 15-28, but they are on a 7-game win streak. Let's not forget the Rockies on a 7-game win streak. Mahan is going off. There's some guys that are just putting some shit together. So that's the active. That is, and I saw that is the active longest MLB streak in the league right now. So the Rockies, something to look for. Though they are 15-28, 7-game win streak is not something to clown about. That's pretty solid. It's pretty good for them. But the Marlins are obviously the worst team in baseball. 13 wins. Even the White Sox have them beat by 1. But the Angels as well, 16-28. There's some really bad teams in baseball right now. It's almost like there's the teams that are just fucking destroying everybody, and then there's some teams that are just like, we're just trying to make it. We're just trying to make it to August, September so we can go home and recoup for next year. That's what it feels like for some of these teams. But anyway, point I'm trying to make, that talking about the Tigers and all that wasn't even the main reason. So there's a guy. His name's Reese Olsen. I saw this stat line. I don't, there's guys, and this is how I felt when DeGrom was in New York. This is how I felt with, like, when you have that stud guy who pitches really well and they just don't have the team behind him. It's just not there yet, or they just really don't give a shit. One of the two, right? So Reese Olsen, he's a starter. My stomach is growling. I'm starving today. God dang. I don't think, like, obviously he's no Ranger Suarez. He's no Imanaka. Is that his name? The guy for the Cubs, Imanaga. He's no, he's not those guys. Obviously, he's not on that level, obviously. But he's pitching really well. He's pitching really, really well. So here's the stat line. And this is what I'm going to say before I even get to the main point of this. He's got, in his last 7 starts, he is 42 1/3 innings pitched, 38 strikeouts, only 13 walks, only 29 hits with a 2.38 ERA. Out of a starting, as a manager, as a front office, as a starter, what more do you ask of somebody? Obviously, like, you realize that there's guys that are doing better. Obviously, like, you could technically be like, well, I want more, but that's pretty damn good for a team that's 21-22. That's not bad. 2.38. That means he is allowing less than 3 runs a game, which is more than manageable to win, right? More than manageable to win. More than manageable to win. Too low. So if he's throwing that, what do you think his record is? I'm so curious. And obviously, no one's talking to me right now, so I'm not. What would you think that this man's record is with a 2.38 ERA, 38 strikeouts, and only 29 hits with 13 walks in 42 innings? What do you think his record is? 3-4, 4-3, 6-1, 2. This dude is 0-7. 0-7, bro. Oh my gosh. Where's the offense when Reese Olsen is pitched? Where does Detroit just not show up on those days? What is happening? With 21-22, a couple games back, who can still pick some stuff up, who have a decent, strong is not, I don't think they've earned that, but they have a decent offense. Not horrible. They got some sticks. Where do they go when Reese Olsen pitches? Do they just get fucked up the night before and not show? What happens? As a starter, I'm pissed. What the hell, man? I'm pitching my ass off, and I'm 0-7 because you guys just failed to show up at the plate when I pitch. Like, what is going on? But I just think, like, that is the ultimate. If you ever needed to know bad luck, the worst luck in baseball. Right there, everybody. The worst luck in baseball. Now, I got one more talk and then we're gonna go 2 minor talks and we'll wrap this up because it's already at 30 minutes because these other points were obviously the ones I wanted to talk about. But the question is, I'm looking at this. I've kind of talked about this on socials. I've talked about it before. I'm gonna keep it brief because I've got buddies that are asking me, are the Dodgers a super team? And I know that Ben Verlander asked. I think that's why they probably asked me about it because I think Ben Verlander was talking about it on his podcast. On paper, yes. On paper, yes. I think that they are. You can classify them by payroll, by lineup, by pitching rotation, by the guys they have on the IL. They are a super team. I mean, it's like they're the golden. Like I knew when they were assembling this motherfucker in the offseason when they got Yamamoto, then they got Glasnow, then they had Shohei, and then they have Mookie already. Then they got Freddie Freeman the year before. They went and got Kiki Hernandez to come back from Boston. All that, all of it. I was like, they're assembling what was the 2016 Golden State Warriors, basically, of the MLB. This is a fucking super team, and it's unfair as shit. And especially, I didn't think it was possible when I saw the 700 million Shohei, and then they were like, but we're deferring it for 10 years, so he's only making like 200. Is that legal? Is that possible? So that he can go out and buy more players? Is that a thing? I guess it is, right? So I knew when I saw that, I was like, this is either really unfair or the Dodgers have some shit up their sleeve that no one knew about because, my God, that is insane. But on paper, yes, and I'm going to answer this question as fast as easy as possible because I can go on down a rabbit hole here. The Dodgers are 100% a super team on paper. On paper. But as we all know, as we were talking earlier with the Phillies, as we were talking earlier with a couple other teams, you can buy the most talent in the Padres are the one. You can buy the most talent in the world, all the talent you want, and assemble this superstar fucking team. But what people fail to understand is that even the best teams, it's not about the talent. It's not about where they're batting in the lineup. It's not about your stats. If you don't gel as a true team, like that's what people fucking underestimate in baseball so much, is that it does not matter how much talent you have. If you guys don't gel, if there's no team chemistry, because baseball is so big on vibes and feels that, and people can discredit that all day long, but until you've played it at least a college level, that's what it is. So I'm going to tell a quick story here. My freshman year, my sophomore year, my redshirt freshman year of junior college, we almost went all the way to the World Series, and that team had the best vibes I've ever played on. Everyone got along. Everyone was cool. Everyone was good with each other, and we were good. We had to double dip San Jack, and if you guys don't know San Jack Junior College, San Jacinto Junior College, look those fuckers up, man. They can fucking ball. They consistently. Andy Pettit went there. There's so many big leaguers that have come out of San Jack that it's not even funny. Obviously, it's Texas for you, right? So we had to double dip. Obviously, we beat them one time, the first time. We beat them. Josh Palacios was on that team. Josh Palacios plays for the Pirates. We played against the big leaguers that year, right? My buddy John King, who now plays with the Cardinals on the 40. He played with the Rangers and got traded to the Cardinals. Pitched that game and threw like a 2-hit shutout, which obviously now he plays in the big league, so warranted. That was that team. We were unstoppable, but obviously we got stopped by by guys that were better than us, right? So whatever. But anyway, point that I'm trying to make is that if you don't have talent, if you don't have chemistry, it doesn't always really matter how good the talent is. So yes, on paper the Dodgers are a super team, but as I saw yesterday, they can be beaten. Do they play like a superstar team? Are they like a super team? Sometimes yes. When they're on, they're on. When they're off, like last night, they just seem very flat. But yes, on paper, if you're going to ask me if the Dodgers are a super team, yes, on paper, they are a super team. So we'll move on from that. But yes, the Dodgers are a super team for sure. And now, what I predicted to not happen is apparently happening now with Soto in New York. They are now, obviously, Brian Cashman in front office. People are like, yeah, we got to talk to Soto before he leaves us. What? And they're calling him a once-in-a-generation talent. Is he? Yes. He's a great ball player. No doubt. Not discrediting that. Juan Soto is a fucking dude. Excuse me. So I saw that, and I thought, okay, now people are going to start to, I'm waiting because I'm going to watch MLB Network in a little bit and listen to what everyone's saying. But, like now the question is obviously the Yankees, and I knew it. I knew the minute they got him, but they only signed him to 1 because obviously I think playing this with the 1 was good because then you have him you have him. So you have him in your ear quite a bit. You can talk to him all you want because he's your guy for the year. Obviously he's Boris, which makes me nervous. And I've talked about this before about what I think is going to happen, and I pray it doesn't because Soto ultimately has the say. He can let Scott Boras call the shots here and there, but Soto has to put his signature on that paper. Now it's a question of he wants to be a Yankee. I don't care what anyone says. People are going to say, oh, it's New York. A lot of people don't like New York, yada, yada, yada. I think that he loves it in fucking New York, and he loves being Yankee because Soto warrants that kind of excitement, that kind of hype, that kind of environment. And I don't care if the Yankees are ass. I don't care what you say about New York City. And it doesn't even, when I say New York City, I'm talking Yankee Stadium because City is not the same. Citi Field is not that environment. It's still rough. It's still hardcore. Mets fans are just as, not to discredit Mets fans, but Mets fans are also hardcore, diehard. Don't get me wrong. But there's just something about playing in the Bronx and playing at Yankee Stadium that it's just different. And if you've never been there, when you go there, you feel it's just different. And that's why there's so many players that can't always hack it. They can't always make it because of what is expected of you as a player. And that's the biggest thing, guys. And I think that how do I say this? There's no stage bigger, especially with how the Yankees are playing right now at this exact moment. Ties have turned off 180 from where they were last year to where they are now. And it is fun to play in New York City right now. It's a great time. If you're a Yankee, you're having the time of your life right now because you're playing good ball. You're beating up on teams. Judge is going fucking off. You have Juan Soto. You got Verdugo playing well. You got Trevino back in the lineup who's on a fucking tear. Then you got Wells who's hitting the ball well. You got Rizzo's hitting the ball well. Glaber's hitting the ball well. Volpe's hitting the ball well. You're going to get LeMahieu back in a little bit. You got Cole on the horizon. There are just so many things to be excited about in New York to make them not – to say that they're not World Series contenders this year is egregious. They're fucking 100% World Series contenders. They're in first place, a couple games ahead of the Orioles. You can't ask for more, right? So in Juan Soto's eyes, I'm thinking, if I'm Juan Soto, I'm thinking, does it get better than this? Does it get bigger than this? Not a chance in hell. I want to be a fucking Yankee. Make me a Yankee. What's the offer? But then at that point, Mr. Boris is going to walk in and say, give us $900 million or something. The question is now going to be dollar sign. It's going to be money. How much? And how much and how long? And that I do not have an answer for yet. I think I threw out, last time I talked about this, I think I said I was thinking 8 to 10, 550 to 600. 8 to 10, 500. He's 25. He's turning 26 this year. My approximate guess, I can't give you an accurate quote on this, so don't quote me. But if I had to guess right now in this moment at 7:40 a.m. on 5/17 on May 17th at 7:40 in the morning, I'm thinking anywhere from 8 to 10 years, 550 to 600. That seems about accurate. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what they come up with. And then the last piece that we're going to talk about today, guys. Oh my God, excuse me. And sorry if you hear my burps, I'm so sorry. I decided to drink an energy drink this morning because I'm not going to go to the gym till noon, 1 o'clock. And it's making me super gassy. It's fucking me up. Never again. Coffee is always the way to go in the mornings. Jesus. But the next big thing today, which I will 100% be watching, now that I think about it, I'm going to stop drinking this and go to the gym a little earlier because Paul Skeens is pitching at 1 o'clock today for his second start of the year. Now, hype's back. He did okay. Nothing to really write home about in that first start. Obviously, I said it before. He's going to need some adjustment time, right? The jump from where he was, playing against little kids, apparently, to now playing in the big leagues is a monumental jump. So what do we expect from him? I expect him to have about same, but a little bit better. And I think his starts are going to continuously get better and better as it goes on. But we will see. Baseball's a weird game, right? Baseball's a strange game. So expecting big things. I think I think it's not going to be like a big jump. He's not going to go from, where he did okay, 84 pitches in 4 innings, and it was very lackluster, very not superstar on brand with what he was doing in the minors, right? So I think he'll just start doing this, slowly getting better and better and better till maybe by I think July, August, he's Paul Skeens again. He is the Paul Skeens we saw in AAA in the big league. So that's what I think. Bold prediction, maybe. that he gradually builds very small on itself until it becomes where he wants to be. Time will tell, right? But big hopes for Paul Skeens. I think he's going to do great. I think he's going to be a great addition to the bullpen. I mean, to the rotation of the Pirates. Now, the funny thing, I hate to bring up Ben Verlander twice in my podcast because I don't want to feel like I'm like jumping or just stealing headlines from him. But I do agree with him on this. There was a question I saw yesterday, and his host, I don't know, I apologize, I don't know his host, her name, goes, does Paul Skeens make the Pirates a playoff team? He says hell no. I say hell no. They're not that strong yet. Yes, you can have, like I said, we can have that great guy. You can have those great pitching. They have Jared Jones. They have a great staff, and obviously a lot of their money's gone to that pitching staff. They have Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, and Paul Skeens. 3 aces, no question. Three full on fucking aces. But there's other pieces that have to fall into place before we start that conversation, right? Because pitching is great and all, but you can see from what I just told you guys about Reese Olsen, you can have pitch your fucking ass off. But if your bullpen ain't there, which it's not, because they shit themselves on Paul Skeens' last outing. I mean, that was horrible. That was bad. And their hitting is not always on par. So that begs the question: Are they a playoff team with Paul Skeens? I don't think so. I kind of have to agree with Verlander. I don't think so. I think that they're going to do great. I think they can play for that next year and maybe the year after that. But right now, not a chance. So we will see what happens with Paul Skeens' second outing tonight or today. I think it's at 1:00. Don't quote me on that. But if you have MLB Network, it will be showcased on MLB Network. So you should check that out if you're working. Sneak in something. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Like I said, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been a blast. I'm having such a great time doing this, talking about baseball, getting a lot of feedback on socials. It's fun to talk to you guys, man. Comment. Please comment. I love discussion. I love talking to you guys, except for the guy who told me to go get it. This is the thing about the internet before, and this is the last thing I'll say, man. It's so funny. I have been doing baseball content for now almost 3 years, right? One never independently. This is the first time I've done something independently on my own, funding it on my own, doing everything on my own, because previously I was doing it for a company, which sucked because I was on their agenda and it was really lame, and there was things I couldn't say, things I couldn't talk about, all that kind. Obviously, working for somebody else has those restrictions, warranted. But now doing it on my own, it's so much more fun because I can wake up and say, I don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk about this today. And I do it. And it's fun. It's a great time. And I love discussions. But there was one guy, and this is the internet. It's the internet. I mean, my buddy is a strength coach, and he does a lot of content and stuff like that. And he gets stuff like this all the time. And it's funny. It's like talking Astros fans and notably Astros fans are the worst. The worst. And I'm not saying all Astros fans, but the ones that are going to live or die by them and will chastise you if you go against them are the worst fans. And I know plenty of them, believe me. And I made that video on Ronald Blanco, which if you follow me on socials, on my story yesterday, I had to kind of roast some of you guys that were like, oh, it was just sweat and rosin, blah, 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 blah. Well, they suspended him 10 fucking games. Ronald Blanco is suspended for 10 games. No appeal, no nothing. 10 games, that's 2 starts out of your season, bro. If I was so sure it was sweat and rosin, and I was damn sure of it, like the Astros fans and him and themselves, I'm damn sure of it. It's just sweat and rosin. The umpires are just hating on us. They don't like us, blah, 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 blah. They're being stupid, blah, blah. Are the umpires on one this year? Absolutely. Can't disagree with you there. I'll always say that. They are on one. But when, you get a 10 fucking game suspension, that's, 5 days. That's 10 days. You pitch every 5th day. That's 2 starts out of my year. I'm a little peeved at that, bro. If I'm serious, that was sweat and rosin and nothing else, I'm appealing the shit out of that suspension. He didn't. Duh. It wasn't sweat and rosin, you dummies. But anyway, there are people, there's this one guy who's like, oh, this is a shit take. Go get a real job. I'm like, what? And it was funny because then I said, what does my opinion on the Astros have to do with my employment status? No response, obviously, because he's an idiot, right? But that's it. I love discussions, bro. Like I will go to at bat and talk. And most of the time, guys, I've had a couple of my friends comment and stuff like that. Like, you can play devil's advocate with me. You can disagree with me. I am so open to discussion, man. Let's talk. That's what I love. Let's talk baseball, bro. That's the funnest. That's the best part of this. Talking baseball with a wide audience is fun, man. So, like I said, I encourage you guys. Challenge me. Talk to me. Let's talk baseball, man. This is fun, right? So, like I said, I'm enjoying this so much, guys. It's so much fun. Thanks for listening. If you follow me, if you like our stuff, thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's fun to talk to you guys. But like I said, follow. The same thing I end it with every video. Like, subscribe, comment, follow YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all the above, man. We're having a great time. But like I said, guys, we'll catch you guys back on Monday. I may have content this weekend. I try to take the weekends off to just kind of recoup, and then we get back during the week. So I don't know if we'll have content this weekend. We might. I think last week I had like one video on the weekend. So be on the lookout for it. But like I said, guys, thanks for listening, and we will catch you guys back on Monday.